It's time for me to review Scream 7, the next installment in the Scream franchise, and you need to make sure you shoot him in the head. Thank you for joining me for my Scream 7 spoiler-free review. If you want a review filled with spoilers, I've linked my spoiler review here and in the description. And if you enjoyed today's video, I really hope that you subscribe to the channel and like this video. It really helps the channel grow. Also, follow Popcorn Heist on Instagram, where we have reels and trivia on Tuesdays and polls on Saturday. I want to hear from you, so comment down below. What is your biggest expectation going into seeing Scream 7? At Popcorn Heist, I choose a quote per video, and the quote of today's video is, "You need to make sure you shoot him in the head." That sentiment is true in this movie as it was in many of the prior Scream movies, if not all. Many times throughout the Scream franchise, I'm like, why don't these characters carry a gun with them? I will say, Sidney had many guns stocked up, but there are many times in this movie where I just need the characters to take those guns and shoot Ghostface in the face. So our favorite Scream Queen is back in this movie, and I'm definitely glad to see Neve Campbell return as Sidney. She's one of my favorite Scream Queens, and she's definitely a presence in this movie. I think Neve Campbell does a great job. We are, however, missing the leads from the new generation of characters that were introduced in the last two movies, played by Melissa Barrera and Jenny Ortega, because of much controversy around the movie, and you definitely feel them missing in this movie. It feels like this movie sometimes has a tough time establishing where it fits in the Scream franchise, because we just introduced this new generation of characters for the last two movies, and now we're having our leading lady return after not being in the last movie and not being the main character in the movie before that. It's super important for our Scream movies to be self-aware and know where they sit in the franchise, and because it's kind of confusing right now, the movie didn't really know quite how to do that, and the rules are always based off where the movie sits in the franchise, whether it be the original, the sequel, a Scream make, a reboot, and this movie doesn't have its place. So the rules are a little bit half-baked. I think that's true for a lot of the elements that really make a Scream movie a Scream movie. There's a lot less movie references in this movie as compared to prior installments in the franchise, and there's not as many iconic phone call scenes where Ghostface calls up one of the characters, because they're a little bit more focused on FaceTime and newer technology, so they kind of skimp on some of those things. There's a lot of nostalgia bait, and we're almost referencing the nostalgia bait from prior movies. And there was a few moments like that where there was a clear reference to an early Scream movie, but we've already done that reference in Scream movies since then. So the movie's almost running out of references at times where it has to reference a reference. The movie does do a great job of using present-day technology advancement to feed into its plot, as so many of the other Scream movies have done in the past, taking relevant present-day topics and putting it into the overall plot of the story really make it relevant to today. The movie focuses on Sidney as the main character, but also brings back some of the characters from the new generation in the last two movies, and trying to establish Sidney's daughter and her group of friends as the new generation of characters. So it kind of has a lot to balance, and although I think it used the legacy characters, including Sidney, Gail, Mindy, and Chad, pretty well throughout the movie, I think it skimped a lot on the new characters in Sidney's daughter's friend group, where when they're interacting and when kills are happening, you're not as invested in any of them, so it falls a little bit short on establishing a new group. We're on like our fourth generation of characters in the Scream franchise, so it's a little bit hard to get invested in them, especially when their time is sacrificed to serve some of the older characters. Sidney and her daughter have a really great relationship throughout the movie. Sidney's kind of this protective survivor mom who doesn't want her daughter to go through the same things that she had to go through in her childhood and throughout her life. Although that really works for Sidney's character, it's really hard to like her daughter because she is portrayed as so weak and at times a little bit dumb, and there's some scenes where you really just need her to get up and do something. Like, girl, it's your time to get up and fight for yourself. Sydney and Gail's relationship is great throughout the movie. I feel like they kind of break out of the mold of Gail coming into the movie as a hated character, where she comes in and everyone, both in the theater and in the movie, is happy that she's there to help the situation. The kills were really amazing in this movie. It's probably the strongest point in this movie. It's some of the goriest and most inventive kills in all of the Scream franchise, and that's really saying something, especially compared to the last few movies. So I really applaud this movie for going there with some of its kills and honestly making Ghostface a real jerk and a really scary presence throughout the movie. The movie tries to break out of the typical structure of how they reveal Ghostface, and it does make it a little bit confusing throughout the movie. That, paired with having so many characters to focus on throughout the movie, kind of makes it feel like you're getting whiplash sometimes, trying to keep track of everything. And some of the fun of a Scream movie is trying to track where Ghostface is, who is in what kill scene, so you can figure out who the killer really is. And it's sometimes hard in this movie because we're flashing between so many different plot points and they're doing something a little bit different with Ghostface. Although I applaud the movie for trying to go for something different with its Ghostface reveal, I do think it didn't work as well as some of the earlier Scream movies, and the Ghostface killers don't feel as iconic, you don't feel as invested in them, and their motive is a little bit weak as compared to others. And I think because of that, the movie falls a little bit flat in its final sequence. In the end, I would give this movie a 3 out of 5 popcorn buckets. I did enjoy my time in the theater, but because this movie didn't really know its place in the franchise, it had a tough time delivering on all of the things that make Scream movies great. Although it's not my least favorite Scream movie, it's definitely not up there with the greats in the Scream franchise. Thank you for joining me for this review, and if you enjoyed this video, I really hope you join me for future reviews and more Scream content. I'm actually working on a ranking of all of the Scream movies that I'm hoping to release in the next week, so definitely keep an eye out for that.